Recording in progress.
Good afternoon, and thank you for attending today. My name is Aaron Schaefer, and I am an associate professor at Trent University. I'm here today as a representative of Palestinian Students and Scholars at Risk, PSSSAR. It is the primary organization in Canada assisting students in Gaza with navigating university applications and visa processes. Today, we are joined by Daniel Komesh, Manager of Policy and Advocacy at Oxfam Canada, and Namau Ali, Board Member at Canadian Muslim Public Affairs Council, CMPAC, as well as MP Heather McPherson and MP Salma Zahid. Each speaker will share brief remarks, after which we will open the floor to questions. For members of the media, we kindly request that you email info@pssar with your contact information. My student's name is Wasim. He is from Gaza City. He is a top scholar, accepted based on merit, and awarded an international scholarship. For over 12 months, he's logged into the IRCC website, waiting for a change to his visa status. For 12 months, there have been no changes. We have asked directly for updates, and we're repeatedly told there have been no changes to the status of your application. For others in Gaza, this wait has been 24 months, others longer still. This delay is not arbitrary, it's not bureaucratic, it's not biometrics, it's intentional. And for what Dr. Gabor Mate has referred to as the most urgent moral matter of our time, Canada and the IRCC are failing. For months, myself and other professors have written letters and campaigned for a meeting with IRCC Minister Lina Diab. She's never responded. In October, we were granted a meeting with the IRCC, which is prior to that meeting we were told the minister would not be attending. Still, we remained optimistic and open-minded, hoping for a dialogue and a path forward with IRCC representatives. The IRCC's Director General stayed for a total of 12 minutes and delivered one message: no exemptions for Gaza. There was no discussion, no rationale, no emotion. Despite Canada's history of supporting students and family in conflict zones facing humanitarian crises, there is to be no such exceptions for Palestine. No exceptions for a man-made famine, no exception for genocide. But let me be clear, these students have never asked for exceptions or special treatment. All they've asked for is fair and due process. Some of our students outside Gaza already have biometric data. I then asked Minister Diab, what is the reason for their delay? Allies like the UK and Ireland have been able to get students out of Gaza. Again, I asked Minister Diab, why can't Canada? The IRCC's inaction has a cost. There is a cost to our global reputation, where this breaks with Canada's historic role in advancing education, human rights, and post-conflict rebuilding. There is a cost to Canada's top research labs. More than 15 students have withdrawn their acceptance to Canada in favor of offers in France, Italy, and the UK. And there is a very real human cost. For Sally and Dahlia, accepted to the University of the Waterloo, they were killed waiting for the IRCC to process their visa. For our students that remain in Gaza, most do not have adequate shelter or food. Winter is coming and the killing continues. We must act now. The Prime Minister must act now. It has become clear that the IRCC lacks the political will to solve this. It is now time for the Prime Minister's office to step in and lead. So I conclude by asking Prime Minister Carney directly, uphold Canada's commitment to human rights and international law, support these students, process their visas. I now invite MP Heather McPherson to share her remarks.
Thank you. I'm honored to stand today with folks doing what they can to raise their voices to ensure that this travesty of justice ends. And I want to thank all of the speakers today, especially the Palestinian Scholar and Students at Risk and the Canadian Muslim Public Affairs Council for their advocacy, of course Oxfam Canada, and my colleague, the Member of Parliament for the Liberal Party. Now, the University of Alberta is one of Canada's great research universities. It is in my riding of Edmonton Strathcona, and more than 40 students from Gaza have been admitted to the University of Alberta to pursue graduate studies, to have their academic futures put on hold because Minister Diab's refusal to act. These brilliant students should be in Edmonton, but they are still in Gaza because the government and this minister have been ignored. Just the University of Alberta. Canadian universities across the country are losing exceptional academic students, academic talent, because the government refuses to bring these students here. As many of those watching will know, prior to the genocide, the population of Gaza was one of the most educated in the world. Many people in Gaza hold multiple degrees. And to Palestinians, higher education has always been a core part of their culture. But there are no more universities in Gaza. They have all been destroyed in the genocide. Many professors and students have been killed, and for those who have survived, studying at universities abroad offers some hope. But for Palestinian students who have been accepted to Canadian universities, again, who have places waiting for them in the universities in this country, in our best graduate programs, they can't get out of Gaza because this government is not allowing them to do so. Several of the students who were originally coming to the University of Alberta have instead gone to France and to the United Kingdom because those governments were able to take the action that our government has not taken. My office has been contacted by many professors at the University of Alberta who are deeply frustrated with the inaction of this government. These professors want these graduate students in Alberta. They see the talent and the promise of these graduate students, and they want that for the universities in this country. There is no reason, there is no understanding for why this is not a priority of the federal government. I've spoken to many community members in Edmonton who are ready to welcome these students and to help provide them with homes and support. The process is simple, and the framework to get these students here already exists. You know, Minister Diab has the ability to do this. She has the ability to do this urgently. And I do not understand, given the horrific circumstances in Gaza, why she will not do so. This is not just about processing times at IRCC. This is about political cowardice. The Liberals are not willing to do the political advocacy with Israel to get these students out of Gaza in the same way that other countries around the world have done. If Liberals and this minister cared about the lives of Palestinians, they would help get these students out now instead of leaving them in Gaza, where there is a risk of them being killed in the ongoing genocide. We know there is no real ceasefire in Israel as Israel continues to bomb Gaza. And we know that the risks these brave students face as they wait for months for IRCC to process their study permits and for the Liberals to act. My community of Edmonton is ready and willing to welcome these bright students. The University of Alberta wants these students. Canadians want to welcome these students. It is time for the Liberals to end their double standards and their doublespeak and actually do their job. The lives of these students hang in the balance. I'd now like to invite Daniel Kamech from Oxfam Canada to share his remarks. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you to the Palestinian Students and Scholars at risk for the invitation to appear today. My name is Daniel Kamech, and I'm the Manager of Policy and Advocacy at Oxfam Canada. Oxfam is an international confederation networked in 76 countries, including in Palestine, where we have worked since the 1950s. Today, the Confederation is working hard to respond to the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Our emergency response includes delivering safe drinking water, repairing damaged water systems, providing food vouchers and cash to support the daily needs of people, supporting hygiene, delivering psychosocial supports, and providing seeds to farmers to support local food production. Essential to all of this work is our Oxfam staff working on the ground with our partners. Staff like my colleague Mira. Every day, our colleagues risk their lives in impossible conditions. 2025 was the deadliest year on record for humanitarian workers. My colleague Mira is one of those risking her life every single day to support Palestinians who are facing the greatest crisis of our lifetime. She's been living in a tent, she's been displaced, she's been surrounded by bombing and death, and she continues to work because of her commitment to humanitarianism. Almost 2 years ago, Mira applied to do a Master's of Engineering at the University of Regina. Because she is an excellent student, she was accepted with a sizable scholarship funded by NSERC. While Mira has been accepted to the University of Regina, she's not yet received a visa for her to come to Canada. To date, she cannot fulfill the requirement to complete her biometrics. Because how could you while you're living under occupation, displacement, famine, and genocide? She's deferred her acceptance twice and is now at risk of losing her scholarship. While other peer countries have worked hard to bring students from Gaza to their institutions, Canada has not. Helping to educate a population whose entire country, including most of its universities, have been destroyed is a small step Canada can take in aiding the Palestinian population.
Okay. Not sure what I just did.
Hey guys, Dan Monroe here
Come
from the
on.
YouTube channel Movies, Music, and Monsters.
Good afternoon, and thank you for attending today.
All right, guys. Sorry about that. I'm going to pick up where I was.
Scholarship funded by NSERC. While Mira has been accepted to the University of Regina, she's not yet received a visa for her to come to Canada. To date, she cannot fulfill the requirement to complete her biometrics. Because how could you while you're living under occupation, displacement, famine, and genocide? She's deferred her acceptance twice and is now at risk of losing her scholarship. While other peer countries have worked hard to bring students from Gaza to their institutions, Canada has not. Helping to educate a population whose entire country, including most of its universities, have been destroyed is a small step Canada can take in aiding the Palestinian population who have endured so much. In the short term, enabling students in Gaza to get to Canada is a lifeline, a reprieve from genocide. In the long term, opening our doors to Palestinians is a powerful bridge that will connect Canada and Palestine forever. Now that Canada has recognized Palestine as a state, we need to put action behind that recognition. Today, we're calling on the federal government to use all the tools they have available to help Mira and scholars like her get from Palestine to Canada. Just going to close with a couple words from Mira here. The past 2 years have been incredibly painful. I experienced displacement 11 times, famine, separation from my family, and the loss of safety, the loss of dignity and comfort. I was close to death several times, yet even in those darkest moments, I never stopped believing in the power of education. Beyond my professional and academic journey, I am deeply committed to education as a force for change. My dream is to study abroad, gain advanced knowledge, and return to help rebuild Gaza's education system. Because I believe that future of our people begins with learning, opportunity, and hope. I hope the Canadian government will give Mira some hope. Let me pass it over to MP Salma Zahid. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Salma Zahid, Member of Parliament for Scarborough Centre, Don Valley East. And first of all, I would like to thank the Palestinian Students and Scholars at Risk Network for their work and for putting a human face on the situation in Gaza and the challenges these students in Palestine are facing. I want to be clear that I'm not speaking on behalf of the government or the minister. As a member of parliament, I have raised this concern, this situation of these students directly with the minister's senior staff. It is a very difficult situation. While there is officially a ceasefire, the reality is violence continues and people are still dying in Gaza. The genocide is happening. And in the West Bank, the settler violence is a daily occurrence. Education is so important, and in Gaza, education is not happening today and for the last 2 years. When I visited the West Bank and Jordan in 2024, we visited a United Nations-run school in Amman. The students told me how the schools in Gaza were closed and families were burning textbooks as fuel to cook what little food they had. Everyone deserves the opportunity to get an education. Education is the path to a better future, and education is one of the best tools we can give to our next generation, and the students in Gaza are not getting that education. There are challenges to be overcome, bringing these students to Canada to continue their education. We should be clear-eyed about these challenges, but we can rise to meet these challenges together. I have, and I again today, urge our government to work constructively with these young people who have admissions in the Canadian universities to find solution to these challenges, and let's give them a chance to get the education that all young people deserve here in Canada. And we need this talent here in Canada in Canadian universities. They have admissions in the Canadian universities, and they are ready, the students are ready once they get the visas to pursue their higher education. And many of them will be doing that in STEM field and research. So I would urge that we should work so that these students can come here quickly. Thank you.
That's hard to follow. My name is Naima Ali. I'm a board member of CMPAC and a Muslim chaplain at York University. I want to paint a simple image for us to think about as Canadians in general, as mothers, daughters, sons, aunts, uncles, people who have either family members in university or graduated in university, and many of us are. I want us to think somewhere in Gaza today, and I'm sorry, but the story you read, it got me a little bit emotional. Somewhere in Gaza today, there are students, against all odds, they studied while they're starving. They studied on the rubbles. They studied on the hunger. They studied on shattered buildings. They studied on while they're sitting behind shattered windows, looking out to say, is the phone gonna ring? Is my application gonna be accepted in Canada? These students are not ordinary students, they're scholars, they're graduate students. They're students who their merit, their academic merit has been accepted in almost across the universities, including Canadian top universities. 70 Palestinian graduate students are waiting. You know, I was just thinking as I flew from Toronto on my flight here, you can see the Christmas decorations. Our families in Canada just celebrated Thanksgiving. We're getting ready for Christmas. Everybody is so proud of the accomplishment of their children. Yet we're underestimating a country who we watch the life of genocide on our phones, on our screens, and we play in politics. I'm sorry. I am a Civil War survivor, so these kind of conversations hit me differently. I promised myself not to cry. We have an opportunity. It's not about liberal, it's not about conservative, it's not about NDP. It's about Canadian values, it's about Canadian laws, it's about what our country, Canada, stands for. These students earn their degrees and their universities are waiting to accept them. But they're stuck in a cruel loop. You cannot leave Gaza because you don't have the biometrics to travel. And you cannot get biometrics because you cannot leave Gaza. This is unacceptable. And it's unacceptable for our politicians to come and knock the doors when they want our vote, when it's an election time. And then they close their doors when there's a dire need and thinks that Canadian individuals, Canadian organizations, Canadian activists, Canadian professors and academics are passionate about. You can't close your doors at this time, because election will come again. There is a way forward. Canadian law already provides IRBA Regulation 12.8 to allow biometric requirements and to waive when there is not possible and not feasible to get it done. This is not the first time Canada did. They did the same exception when the Ukraine and among other crises happened. I urge for all Canadians to talk to their politicians. If they don't want to talk to us as an activist and people who are standing up for those student scholarships, we want you to knock their doors as well. I urge our Prime Minister, Mark Carney, to ensure that the ministers are fulfilling their obligations in order IRCC to process the study permits as indicated in the statutory regulations of Immigration Refugees Protection Act. Thank you.
We'll open the floor to questions.
All right, we are going to forego the questions here.
Hi. So my
All right, guys, if you have any further discussions or anything you'd like to add or anything you might come to mind about this particular situation, don't forget to leave it in the comments. Like, follow, subscribe, turn on notifications. You guys have a good afternoon. We'll be back.